Brilliant. I think we're going to get started now. Well, once again, good morning, everyone. And on behalf of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in the UK, I'd like to give you a very warm welcome to this morning's webinar, which is on the topic of innovation as a driver of competitiveness. We're really pleased to be holding this session in collaboration with Axis Corporate, which is an international management consulting firm which are members of our chamber. I'm just going to now introduce our two speakers that who are joining us for this morning's session. So Sonia Gogova is an innovation and competitive intelligence senior consultant at Axis Corporate. She has more than 18 years of professional experience in areas including strategic and competitive research and analysis, strategic planning, process optimization and reengineering, process map management and market intelligence. We're also joined by Enrique Lara, who is the Director of Digital and Innovation at Axis Corporate. He has more than 17 years of experience in the technology and business transformation consulting sectors, where he has successfully managed numerous and diverse projects in Europe and Latin America. So after the presentation this morning, you're going to have the opportunity to ask any questions you might like to either Sonia or Enrique. You can do so in either English or Spanish, as you prefer. And you can see there at the bottom of your screen, there's both the chat and the Q&A function. So please feel free to write any questions that you might have through there. Okay, well, now without any further ado, Sonia, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. First of all, I want to say that we thank the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in the UK for this special opportunity to share with all of you our approach to innovation. What are we going to talk about today? Briefly, Enrique Lara will comment on who Axis Corporate is and what we do. Then I will talk about several key points related to our innovation framework. I will talk about the needs of companies, managers, about concerning to innovation, and we will present you our Axis innovation path with 5 stages. In detail, we'll see each of these stages during our webinar. And finally, I will give you some guidelines to start innovating with the minimum necessary guarantees to success in small and medium sized enterprises. Well, Enrique?
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. Thank you for the introduction. And also, as Sonia already told you, I'm going to briefly introduce who we are. So Axis is an international consultancy firm, and we help our clients to accelerate their growth. How we do that? Well, we have to start with the strategy, and also we have to focus on the operating models and on the business models. So taking all this situation into account, and also taking into account which is the current situation that we are living, we have to manage a lot of levers. And one of those key levers is the innovation, because innovation will help the companies to introduce added value within their markets. And also, we want to share how you should manage all this innovation process, because the success of the transformation right now is based on how well you will define your innovation process. So what we are going to do is to share with you which is our approach, which is our point of view about how the companies should manage this innovation process in order to be success, not only in the innovation, but also within the transformation process that we are currently living. So that was a brief summary about how we manage innovation and who we are. So I'm giving again the word to Sonia, and we are going to start analyzing which are the differences between innovating or innovation and creativity, which is something which is a starting point that we have to keep in mind, and we have to clarify that.
Thank you. Thank you, Enrique. Well, at Axis Corporate, we believe that companies' abilities to innovate has become the greatest competitive resource in this century. We all know that creativity is closely related to innovation, but it's important to note that are not identical concepts. In Axis, we understand the creativity is thinking of new and appropriate ideas. I mean, it implies a new way of seeing. In turn, innovation is the successful application of those ideas within the company. It's a new way of doing. Simplify, creativity is thinking for us, and innovation is doing. Or creativity is a new way of seeing, and innovation is a new way of doing. In other words, innovation for us is, as you see, is a process, is a method, is a management techniques and control, but it's also passion, curiosity, creativity, perseverance, initiative, teamwork, design, and intuition. The innovation is all of this together and perfectly harmonized. Well, the next slide, please. Okay, thank you. We think that in many companies, managers ask themselves some of the following questions. For example, how can my current innovation process be more agile and integrated? Or how do I bring in the best practice into my current innovation process? Other question is, how can I integrate my innovation process with the rest of the company's processes and operation, for example? Or how do I monitor, analyze, and learn from what is happening in my market, in my sector, in order to improve my innovation plan? And another question could be, how do I make them innovation become a way of thinking within my entire company? In this webinar, we'd like to share with you our way to responding to some of them. The next slide. Well, it's our innovation. Nowadays, innovation is a top priority for most of the business leaders. Innovation management is really systematic process of organizing innovative practices within our companies. Researchers suggested a number of models, and they are trying to express the model which is near to the real innovation process. Our innovation process, Axis Innovation Framework, is structured in 5 stages. Innovation strategy, first stage. Second stage, innovation organizational model. Then innovation operation, innovation process. Fourth stage, innovation governance. And the last stage, innovation deployment. In second, the next part, exactly, thank you. The first stage, we think it's almost the most important stage to assure the best framework with the best and most aligned structure of innovation in the company. The goal of this stage is to ensure the company's innovative activity in is coherent and aligned with the business strategy. To achieve this, we take into consideration 6 key aspects that are essential. Depending on the answer to these 6 aspects, the innovation strategy will be one way or another way. It depends on the situation and aspiration of each company, of course. Let's briefly review this 6 aspects. First, type of innovation strategy. There are different specific strategy in business innovation. It's frequent for a company to handle some combination of them. It's very important to assess if the company is ready. I mean, if the company has the necessary resource and capacity to apply either one or another strategy. And of course, if the company chooses a strategy that requires a certain business resource, it should take it into account and consequently acquire or develop them. For example, defensive innovation strategy, it's usually looking for incremental innovative solutions. It's based on the best practice of others who have already worked on or implemented similar innovation. In order to successfully apply this innovation strategy, it's necessary to have already or develop specific resources and capabilities. For example, constantly monitor the market context or agility to react in a timely manner or perform strategic analysis of our direct competitors, etc. Another type of strategy is, for example, the opportunistic strategy. It's based on searching for the weakest points of our competitors or identifies new niches markets to be exploited. In order to apply this innovation strategy, it's necessary for a company, for example, quickly identify specific opportunities, identify the weakness of competitors, become strong where the competitors falters or does not. The second aspect and in this stage is the scope of innovation. Excuse me. There are 3 types of innovation scope: closed scope, open, or mixed. Closed innovation are also known as corporate or internal innovation, is when the employees of the company are the ones who innovate. Open innovation is when both employees and other players outside the company participate in innovation process. For mixed scope of innovation, we have where some innovation ideas are created in-house and other ideas do so thanks to the participation of external players. Depends of each company and situation and strategy, of course. The next key aspect is our type of innovation. We have to decide which type of innovation will develop in our company. We talk about 3 types of innovation according to the impact of their results: incremental innovation, radical, and disruptive. Incremental innovation is the most common form of innovation nowadays. It uses existing technology to increase value to the customers within our existing market. Almost all companies engage in incremental innovation in one form or another. Simplify, incremental innovation is about existing technology for existing markets. But radical innovation is the opposite. It conducts to new markets and involves creating new technologies. It focuses on new service or models that will replace the existing ones. Simplify, radical innovation is about new technology for new markets. And disruptive innovation is also known as stealth innovation, silence innovation, involves applying new technology or processes to our company's current market. It usually focuses on how to create a clear competitive advantage in the markets where we operate. Simplify, disruptive innovation is about new technology for existing markets. It's critical to find type or types that suit your company and thus in success. And the other key aspect is about the organization of our innovation process. Will we adapt the innovation to the current organization chart, or will we create a specific organizational structure to manage innovation in our company? Will it be traditional, hierarchic, or do we want a different structure? It's about those questions, the aspect 4. The next aspect is about our innovation ecosystem. The players of your innovation framework can be very different depending on the challenges to be faced. They may be employees, providers, customers, even research institution, or incubators, accelerators, angel investors, etc. An innovation ecosystem is made up of different players, relationships, and resources who all play a role in taking a great idea to transformative impact at scale. The last key aspect is about your innovation focus and priorities. Generally, this aspect is most linked to the general strategy of the company and its goals. You can focus your innovation on any of these directions or on combination of them. For example, innovate in your offering products and services to your customers, innovate in your business processes and structure, or innovate to improve the experience of your clients, employees, or partners, etc. At this point, I'd like to mention two components that add clear value to our innovation framework. The first is our ROI, return of investment innovation model. And the second is a cultural change plan towards innovation of our employees. We have developed our own model to calculate the return of investment in innovation. Our model includes criteria and tools to quantify in numerical and monetary terms the impact and benefits of innovation projects and activities on the business, on the whole business. The second add value component of our framework is we also focus on the development and measurement of the change in people's cultures towards innovation. In the beginning of our model, in this stage, first stage, quite important for us, we define this two elements, but we take them up again at the end of our model and specify them in a much more detailed way. The second stage, thank you. The second stage is about innovation organizational model. The main objective of this stage is to design the most appropriate organizational model to give an effective response to the previously defined innovation strategy. We find mentioned here three models: hierarchical organizational model, the traditional model, network organizational model, and dual or mixed organizational model when we have a hierarchical model with some network elements inside it. We've seen in several companies, clients, that the organizational model were a key piece to ensure that everything worked without important problems and mishaps in the daily operation of innovation. It's an important, quite important point, which should be the most appropriate organizational model depends on the cultural achievements of the company and, of course, its predominant organizational style. By the way, either one or another model may be suitable for each company. Stage 3 of our framework is about innovation operational model, our process of innovation. The objective of this stage is to design each step of the innovation process up to the level of independent activities and tasks. All these taking into account the previous two stages. I mean, defined strategy and organizational model. In our model, the innovation is operated in 4 sub-processes: monitoring, focusing and ideation, feasibility, and deployment. In this stage, about the innovation operational model, we give a special place to the technological and market surveillance process, because we consider that innovation, regardless of the defined strategy, must always be supported or led by what happens in our industry market. I mean, technological trends, competitors, alliances, upcoming mandatory regulations, etc. And where we want to, and here we want to highlight the third add value element of our model. I mean, technological and market surveillance and competitive intelligence service that we have allowed and constantly updated. And we can help our clients by providing them our competitive intelligence service, for example, such outsourcing, or by helping them to make a IT benchmark and purchase the license and guide them in customizing a tool. We would also like to emphasize that this model also ensures the go, no-go decision-making criteria of any innovation initiative during its operational journey, and thus ensure maximum efficiency in the execution of the innovation budget. Of course, this is very important for top management of each company. The next stage is design governance, innovation governance model. In this stage, we define which are the persons who will be responsible to control the innovation cycle and all related initiatives, and of course to make decisions across the innovative practice in the company. The innovation governance model describes how the management team has chosen to allocate responsibilities for innovation within company. There can be both permanent or temporary governance boards. It depends on the context of each company and the definition of the 3 stages previously described. We establish not only the roles and responsibilities of each governance group, but in this stage, we also define the necessary indicators and metrics in a scorecard format to provide effective control of innovation at both practical and strategic level. In this stage, we are ready to detail our return of innovation, of investment model of innovation, and also the cross cultural plan in accordance with everything previously defined. And the last stage is innovation deployment. The main objective here is to really put into practice everything previously defined, and for example, develop a starting point with companies' innovation priorities and to outline several challenges to generate ideas, and if possible, to make the first filter of the most relevant ones. That is to say, we help to design the initial backlog to start your innovation process. In the personalized innovation model, in accordance to the needs and resources of our client, we specify both the cutoff criteria and the thresholds to ensure a cost effectiveness of the innovation funnel. Well, now the next slide, we have 5-10 minutes to share with you the minimum requirements to start innovation in small and medium-sized enterprises. Let's take, to make simple our advice, let's take as an example a medium-sized company that does not currently have any innovation process or activity, but its president wants to evaluate the minimum necessary efforts to start. The first question to ask yourself is, where do I want to innovate? For example, you must reinforce your service and products, and you want to apply innovation in this aspect. Okay, the answer is project, products and services. We want to innovate to improve and make a difference in our services and products to our customers, we offer to customers. The second question to ask yourself is, who will be responsible for innovation in my company? For example, you do not have the resources to hire more people, but you can reassign the innovation function to one manager and redeploy his function among the other managers. In other words, there will be a single manager in your company, but with total dedication to innovation. The third question should be, what key innovation activities should the manager do? At this point, in particular, we advise you to do each and every one of the following activities, even it's in a basic way. Each and every one of the 4 activities: monitoring, idea generation, analyze the feasibility of generated ideas, and deployment of the best ideas. Monitoring, the innovation manager can subscribe to relevant newsletters, or he can buy some software license. There are some quite cheap, by the way, in the market. The second activity is idea generation. Innovation manager, we suggest, can always launch the simple survey with a few questions to gather ideas from employees. This hardly needs a budget. There are even free tools to do it, to do this. And we recommend analyze the feasibility of generated ideas. The full feasibility study is, we know, you know, is time consuming and pretty difficult, but at the very least, a basic business case must be done to assess the prospective profit of received ideas. In the last activities is deployment of the best ideas. Whenever a good idea has come out, we recommend doing an implementation test because many aspects are usually detected during the test, and they could only appear in this moment doing the test. And if the results are satisfactory, you should implement the idea on a larger scale. Okay, and the last question you have to ask yourself is, how will I govern my innovation process? Many companies, even large ones, have failed or collapsed in their innovation process because they have neglected this last point. Even in a small or medium-sized company, the governance of the innovation can be assumed by a group of 2 or 3 persons. The owner of the company, the head of the IT area, and the innovation manager. Dashboards, well, the control of the 4 activities previously mentioned, and if you cannot allow some specific software for dashboard, it could be done in a simple Excel sheet, correctly designed, of course, in order to be capable to extract the key data which are necessary for your good decision and data-driven decision making. KPI, when we talk about KPI, you can define at least some indicator that will measure how your innovation funnel evolves. And over time, I have no doubt you will identify other indicators and will help you to handle better your innovation control and decision making. I should like to finish by commenting briefly on 2 matters particular interest. First, to obtain the maximum benefit from innovation, we must structure the entire cycle and seek the efficiency and profit of the initiatives. Okay, and the second matter of particular interest for us is about that each company is singular and there is no standard innovation model that is suitable for all companies. The model must be carefully adapted to the strategy, resources, priorities, and capacities of each company in a specific way. Anyway, I'd like to stand out this example is a fairly indicative and simplified example, which from our experience and knowledge, we advise as a guide for those who want to have some idea about the minimum necessary to start innovation in his company. Well, the last slide, in the end, I'd like to share with you this quote that that indicate the Axis philosophy regarding innovation. I mean, innovating implies risk, but the biggest risk today is not innovating. With these guidelines, I hope we've been able to clarify the main aspects of our understanding of innovation and to explain in a simple way the minimum requirements to start innovating or to improve the innovation process that you currently have in your companies. That's all. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Hannah?
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, both Sonia and Enrique. Some lots of really useful information there. So everyone is welcome to ask any questions that they might have. I've just written in the chat there, so you can see there's that option. There's also the Q&A box. Yeah, in either English or Spanish, totally fine. Okay, so we have some questions here. One of them is to either Sonia or Enrique, as you prefer. One is, someone has asked, over what time frame are you able to measure innovation ROI, return of investment, and using what metrics?
Well, actually, I think Sonia tried to explain that. We've got a ROI model, which is the return of investment model. We developed this model trying to measure which is going to be the return of investment with regards to the intangible assets. And well, depends on the company. Also, we have to review which is the value chain of the company. We have to review which is the impacts of the innovation within this value chain, and also, I mean, to give you a time frame in order to ensure which is going to be the time that you are going to require to measure which is going to be the return of investment is hardly difficult. But to give you an answer, a proper answer, we can share with you that we used to spend 4 or 5 months in order to establish that model within the companies. After that, you have to run the model jointly with us, but to establish and to define the model in order to measure the return of investment of the innovation will take you 4 months approximately.
Yeah.
Brilliant, makes sense. Thank you, Enrique. Another question that someone has asked is, from your own experience, do you have any studies that correlate diversity of the teams involved in the innovation process with the ROI? Thank you very much.
So Sonia, probably you can answer that. Do we have any measure or any figure about which is the structure of the innovation area? I think that was the question. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have well, again, depends on the company and also depends on the strategy and depends on how we will settle the operating model. But we have seen companies starting with 2, 3 guys, or even with 1 guy trying to manage all the innovation area, and also trying to working jointly with different areas. That is a kind of network structure, the one that has already explained. But since the structure and since the innovation model is going to be enhanced, the structure is going to be growing. So depends again on the strategy, depends on the operating model that we are going to settle in order to manage the innovation. But we can find even big companies with 1, 2 guys managing all or starting to manage all the innovation. And we can also find a solid structure with 10, 15 guys. So it depends on which strategy, which is going to be your operating model, and how are you going to, also which is going to be your governance model. How are you going to control and monitor all these operating model, structure, and so on. So again, depends on the company, the size of the company, the sector of the company, the innovation strategy of the company, but you can find from 1 till 15 guys managing that.
Brilliant. Yeah. It's Raquel who wrote that question in. She's from Chamber member Diversitas Institute, and she just kind of wrote in the chat that what she meant by her question there was she wanted to know if you think that the more diverse the team is, the better the innovation process works and better results are achieved if there's more diversity within the team as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Raquel, for that question. Okay, let's see. Okay, another one we have is, does innovation imply any cultural change within the organization? Is there any relationship between business culture and innovation? And if so, what?
Yeah, of course. The cultural change is one of the key points that we have to manage carefully if we want to achieve successful implementation of the innovation operational model within organization. This is why cultural change is one of our 3 added value components of our framework, innovation forum framework. And also that is why this cultural change is included in our framework. Change management generally, and cultural change management in particular, is the base on which we have to build the whole organizational change toward new ways of working, new ways of doing, where innovation will be one of the main reference for all employees. Successful cultural change will help the organization to be recognized by our clients and competitors as truly innovative company.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sonia. That's great. Okay, another question we've had come in is, how much should we invest to ensure the success of the innovation model that you've talked about?
So once again, it depends on the innovation process that we are going to define, and also depends on the innovation strategy that the company has already defined. But to give you a framework or a range about how we should, or how much the companies are currently investing, they used to invest between a half and 1% of their budget, of their total budget. So depending on which is going to be your strategy, also depending on which is going to be your innovation process, or which are your main targets, your budget should be one or the other. But in order to have a range, you can manage the range between half point and total point of the total budget of the company.
Well, I think, yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, another one we've had is, someone's asked, do we have to use any technological solution to successfully manage the innovation life cycle? Which would be your recommendation with regards to this topic?
There are a lot of tools within the market in order to manage the innovation process. But once again, you have to select the correct one, and that selection will depend on which is your operating model, which is your structure, which is your governance model. So we used to help our clients to select the correct or the proper IT solution during a kind of benchmarking. Sorry. So it depends on what are you measuring, or how are you governance your whole innovation process. That will drive you in order to select the best IT solution. So depends on how are you going to manage. You will need or require one solution. You may also start with Excel files, and then since or as your process will be enhanced and optimized, you will require new IT solutions. But once again, depending on the requirements that the client has, we will have to select one IT solutions or other.
Great, makes sense. Thank you, Enrique. Okay, we've just had one more question, which is someone's asked, talking about how companies may achieve the expected added value from innovation. Is it necessary to complete all of the stages that you have talked about today in your presentations?
Well, yes, to complete this transformation process, you must go across each and every one of these stages that we have explained in this webinar, but it's also true that the way and intensity with each of the stages must be executed depends a lot on main faults, many factors of each company. Sector depends on the sector in which the company develops its activity, depends on innovation maturity level, and also depends on the type of innovation chosen by the company. In this webinar today, we have presented a specific example with regards to which would be the minimum viable product to be success with the innovation process. Depending on each company requirements, different activities and tasks should be executed in each of the stage. But we fairly think that it's necessary to complete all stages we've talked about today, at least in a basic way, but each of the stage is fairly important to do or develop.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much, Sonia. Well, those are all the questions that we've received. Thank you so much, everyone, for sending those in. I just wanted to reiterate, I know, Enrique, you did have a slide for that, but if you have any other questions, please, you can contact either Enrique or Sonia to ask them, either questions about what they've spoken about during the webinar today, or also if you would like to find out more about the services of Axis Corporate. They'd be really pleased to tell you more about how they can help your business. So please do get in touch with either Enrique or Sonia, and just again, I will be sending around an email including those email addresses too. So if you lose them now, don't worry, you'll be sent them. I will also be sending around an email later today, which will also include the recording of this webinar. So if you have a colleague or contact a friend who you think this content will be useful to, please do share the video of this webinar with them. We're happy for as many people to see it as possible. And yeah, thank you so much, Sonia and Enrique, once again. We're really pleased to have carried out this webinar with you this morning, and thank you for sharing your insight with us. It's been very, very useful.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Hannah.
Great.
Thank you all of you.
Very welcome. Have a great day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.